Ever since the release of MK 2011, I've had an intense hatred for the character of Quan Chi. You may not have noticed it, I don't really talk about it that much. His role in the story and other details surrounding him disgust me. To properly explain why, I have to go back to the beginning and explain the histories of both the Necromancer himself and the plotline he was unceremoniously crowbarred into. Quan Chi debuted as a one-off villain in the 1996 cartoon Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm. He appeared only in episode 8, where he used a gem to fill the heroes' hearts with hate to turn them against each other. Nightwolf was absent at the time and thus unaffected. After Nightwolf shattered the gem, Quan Chi and was never heard from again. He was probably intended as a stand-in for the dead Shang Tsung, similar to Karbarak and Komodai, even though Shang Tsung does appear later. Much like Harley Quinn and Batgirl, Quan Chi proved popular enough to carry over into the games, though whether this was due more to fans liking him or the developers, I can't say. And no commenter from the first review, he wasn't made for the games and included to promote them, or his episode would have tied into the plot of Mythologies and centered on Sub-Zero rather than Nightwolf. You idiot. When he appeared in MK4 and its tie-in spin-off Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero, Quan Chi's story was completely rewritten so that, rather than a free-roaming sorcerer, he was now Shinnok's right-hand man. Now here's the thing, Quan Chi was a sorcerer that served as the villain's primary enforcer while secretly plotting to overthrow him. He threw flaming skulls as his main special attack and had the ability to imitate other characters' abilities in some way. Quan Chi was just the Shang Tsung to Shinnok's Shao Kahn. They could have very easily put Shang Tsung in MK4 instead, and the only difference would be that his grudge would be with Liu Kang rather than Sub-Zero, which never made any sense anyway because it's not the same Sub-Zero that made him explode in Mythologies. And MK 2011 makes it even worse because he knows it's not the same Sub-Zero, he turned that Sub-Zero into Noob Saibot. Following this, the two sorcerers actually met in MK Deadly Alliance, where they formed an alliance that was effective enough to eliminate both Liu Kang and Shao Kahn. As I've mentioned before, this was an effective way of shaking up the status quo by removing both the main hero and main villain to show that these two meant business. It's a shame the two were never this effective again, even losing to Kung Lao in this game. Quan Chi also went through a notable redesign where he branded markings from the Dragon King's tomb into his flesh for later use. Remember this detail because the people making the bloody games didn't. It's also strange that Quan Chi requires Shang Tsung's help to resurrect the Dragon King's army while Quan Chi is now described primarily as a necromancer. Weird. He's presumed dead at the start of Deception and later revealed to be alive in Armageddon, where he's the one to propose the alliance with the other main villains, and his survival is never actually explained. His Deadly Alliance design carried over into these two games, but Deception picks up right after Deadly Alliance and Armageddon just reuses models from those two games anyway, so I can give them a pass. His cameo in MK Shaolin Monks, however, cannot be excused. Since the game is a retelling of MK2, it makes perfect sense for Quan Chi to not only make an appearance, but also have the markings he shouldn't have for another 3 games. I don't know if they were just reusing a CG model for the scene, but it's not the worst offender. MK vs DCU is where his presence became truly obnoxious. The game is set right after MK3, which is why his presence here in the Deadly Alliance outfit with the markings makes total sense. There does exist a piece of concept art for a new design for him for DCU, but they never used it despite having to make a new model for him anyway. But the design was really good and it clearly inspired his look in MKX. The plot takes a few cues from the second movie for whatever stupid reason, with Shao Kahn and Shinnok in an alliance and Quan Chi sent as an envoy. Quan Chi is revealed to be the one who revived Scorpion as his enforcer, and then displays his new mind control gimmick on Kitana. Side note, Armageddon is the only game made since 2002 in which Kitana is not under any form of mind control. Anyway, he's a major NPC like Shazam in the Guardians of the Universe, he's the one who brings the MK side together to battle the DC side, and he was planned to be DLC alongside Kung Lao, Harley Quinn, and Doomsday. Yeah, because he's totally deserving of being compared to characters as important as those, but the game's non-canon, so his presence and role in Scorpion's story didn't bother me that much at the time. But then MK 2011 ruined everything. All of a sudden, Quan Chi actually is present in MK 1-3. He is the one who revived Scorpion and turned Sub-Zero into Noob. He suggests the entire plot with Sindel in MK3 and personally resurrects her. She even knows who he is. He sets up the iconic Solnado of MK3. He wears Shinnok's amulet openly without anyone who would recognise it doing so. And he's played up as the master manipulator who pulls everyone's strings like he's Revolver fucking Ocelot. But he's not. Quan Chi is just another cheap clone character from MK4, a literally pale imitation of Shang Tsung in both ability and motive, and he's being constantly rammed down our throats like he's pasty white cock in the mouth of the developers who are so fucking pleased with themselves for creating such a unique and interesting character and forcing him into every fucking Mortal Kombat story no matter how little he fits, and forgetting that the tattoos are only supposed to be added in the 5th game and refusing to give him a new change of clothes since 2002. I mean, at least they didn't have him kill Scorpion while posing as Sub-Zero like that god-awful MK Legacy did, but I bet they would have if they'd thought of it first. Quan Chi was just a guy who hired both Scorpion and Sub-Zero for the same job in mythologies. He figured they'd fight to the death, but sending two increased their chance of success, so it made sense and wasn't too intrusive. He merely created the context for their inevitable battle, but now he's the one who resurrected Scorpion and Sub-Zero as his minions, and the entire rivalry between the two revolves around him now. What, you don't believe me? Then consider this. After his loss in MK1, Scorpion's next appearance is for his fight with Sub-Zero in Chapter 8. After that, his next appearance is at the start of Chapter 16. When I said I'd forgotten he was even in the game by that point, I was dead serious. Scorpion, the most popular character in the series and Ed Boon's personal favourite, is absent for half the fucking game. And I figured out why. See, Scorpion kills Sub-Zero in MK1. Sub-Zero, as Noob, is then Quan Chi's primary enforcer, as seen when he accompanies his master in both the resurrection of Sindel and the creation of the Solnado. These two scenes both take place between chapters 8 and 16, which indicates that Quan Chi only uses Scorpion to get Sub-Zero under his control, and then leaves him to sit in the Netherrealm with his thumb up his arse until Noob dies, and Quan Chi's only option is to promote Scorpion again. Not only is he Quan Chi's bitch, he's Quan Chi's backup bitch, for when his real bitch gets killed. Way to completely reduce one of your best characters into a pathetic little stooge, guys. Tying Scorpion down the way they did completely destroys his original character arc. Originally, Scorpion was killed by the Elder Sub-Zero and came back from the dead for revenge, we all know this part. In order to do so, he had to pay the price of his memories of his family. After killing Sub-Zero, Scorpion learned that Sub-Zero had returned for MK2. Concluding that Sub-Zero was now also a lost soul bent on revenge, Scorpion headed to Outworld and witnessed Sub-Zero spurring an opponent. Through this, he realised that this was not the same Sub-Zero, but rather his younger brother. Feeling genuinely guilty for taking Kuai Liang's brother from him and attempting to punish Kuai Liang for his brother's crimes, Scorpion vowed to become his protector and even switched sides during Khan's invasion after learning that Sub-Zero was fighting against Khan. He only really worked with the villains again when Quan Chi tricked him into thinking Sub-Zero killed his family. After learning it was actually Quan Chi who was responsible, Scorpion hounded the sorcerer for presumably a few years before Quan Chi teamed up with Shang Tsung. Scorpion encountered Moloch and Dramin and was thrown into Shang Tsung's Solnado, becoming trapped in the void where he, alongside the Elder Gods, witnessed Raiden's death and Onaga's return. The Elder Gods then offered to grant Scorpion any wish if he became their champion and hunted down Onaga. He agreed, and while he didn't kill Onaga, the Elder Gods still revived his clan as promised. Whether because they are idiots or just complete dicks, we may never know, but they revived Scorpion's clan as undead, which pissed Scorpion off so much he tried to stop Armageddon from being prevented in order to end all of existence out of vindictive spite. And then the second timeline just has him as Quan Chi's pawn and working for the villains for the duration of the game. So they completely erase this brilliant character arc about a man who feels fully justified in seeking revenge, but also feels guilt over the ramifications of his vengeance. Which was a brilliant twist on the rivalry and just out of nowhere changes alignment from neutral to evil, just because. I so wish his ending where he burns Quan Chi's cock off was canon. Another arc they ruined was Sindel's. In the original backstory, Sindel was forced to marry Shao Kahn after he conquered her realm and murdered her husband. She killed herself to escape Khan's rule, leaving her daughter and her people to suffer beneath Khan's iron fist. Sindel's actions, while completely understandable, were ultimately selfish, and she suffered for it. Shao Kahn kept her soul from escaping and kept hold of it until the invasion plan thousands of years later. He had Shang Tsung revive her under mind control as Khan's queen in Earthrealm, thereby allowing the Emperor to legally travel to Earthrealm to reclaim his bride. She was eventually freed from Khan's control thanks to the daughter she abandoned, and her realm was restored. For her return in deception, the roles were reversed. It was the daughter revived under mind control, and the mother seeking to free her. Although it was Liu Kang and Ermac that ultimately freed Kitana, Sindel's quest to save her daughter can be seen as a quest of redemption. Sindel's opportunity to make up for abandoning her daughter to Shao Kahn, and to repay her for the love she regardlessly displayed during the invasion of Earthrealm. Then the reboot doesn't give Sindel her chance at redemption, and she goes from one mind-controlled state to another without the first being properly established, making it unclear for new players that she isn't actually evil. And her suicide is portrayed as this grand heroic sacrifice to stop Khan from claiming Earthrealm somehow, and Quan Chi claims it's a protection even the Elder Gods cannot grant. MK Legacy did a similar thing of making a bigger deal of Sindel's death, rather than letting it stand as an act of selfishness she's later absolved of through her own actions. Have you ever wondered why Star Wars fans get so bent out of shape over the whole Greedo shot first thing? It's not just because the logic is obscene and the effects laughable, it's because it robs Han of his character arc. Han Solo is a selfish rogue who won't hesitate to literally shoot a man under the table in order to survive and doesn't care about the plight of the rebellion unless he gets paid. His return to assist Luke in the Death Star battle is a sign that Han is changing, that he is starting to care about others and views Luke and Leia as friends he will stick his neck out for. By the time the trilogy ends, Han is fully on board with the rebellion and takes active part in a dangerous ground operation that won't be remembered the way the larger battle up in space will. He does it not for glory or money, but because he believes in the cause of his friends. By having Han shoot only in retaliation, Lucas severely weakened Han's arc, and likewise, by having Sindel's death be some grand act of heroism, MK writers are severely weakening Sindel's arc. She is now simply a plot device to help facilitate an awful plot twist, and a tool to be used to raise the stakes, nothing more. Ermac had a similar arc where, after being freed from Shao Kahn's control by Kenshi, he taught Kenshi to use telekinesis and sought redemption, finding an opportunity upon encountering the spirit of Liu Kang during Deception. He assisted Liu Kang in freeing Earth's heroes from mind control before joining the Forces of Light in Armageddon, but now that seems unlikely. Perhaps the most egregious example of a ruined story is the horrendous treatment of Shang Tsung, who I didn't realise how much I liked until he was gone. Shang Tsung is just constantly being shit on in this game. If he's not being punished for things that aren't his fault, he's jobbing to smoke, borrowing fatalities from other people, getting unceremoniously killed off, and having things he was responsible for the first time around being given to Quan Chi. MK3 made it clear that Shang Tsung played a key role, but now we can't have Shang Tsung do anything right, can we? No, let's give everything he does right to his knockoff. But then again, Shang Tsung is the one who makes the deal with Kano to get the weapons brought to Outworld for use in the invasion, before anyone even considers invasion. But without that, Khan's guys would get massacred. Imagine an army of strikers versus an army of barakas. Yeah, that's what I thought. Why does the original villain have to be treated so badly just to push a guy who is basically the same person but worse in every way? I mean, he was treated with much more respect in the Armageddon intro, where he was basically the star for the last stretch as he blasted and threw and punched everyone who came at him off the pyramid, even outwitting Khan and throwing Quan Chi off the pyramid. Hey, let's see that again. Put that on loop. Yeah, suck it, you pasty white bastard. But it's not like these are the only characters ruined by this terrible, terrible story. Let's talk about Shao Kahn.